team. We have you covered. We also deal in African wear. We can do anything beautiful with the African dress. You just have to give us your dream and we bring it to reality. We do anything. You can have this. You can have men's shirts. You can have the shorts, the casual and the party dresses. And you look lovely on your special day. Please, we are located at F3 Tower, Bakulimengo, Kampala, Uganda. We are also on Instagram in Angie Creations. We are on Facebook as Angie Creations. Please come visit us. We immediately after Hospital Station. You get us there. You can call us on our lines. They're all on our media platforms. Please come order with us. We have perfectionism. It is our main goal. Please be blessed as you find your way to Bakulimengo.
So first of all, thank you so much for inviting me to your program, and thank you so much for being a community guy, community builder, someone who is always trying to seek for the truth and then disseminating it to our community members. I think you're doing an incredible job. My name is Henry Ssali. I am a resident of Toronto, Ontario. Ndi musajja wa Kabaka, abamanyi mukitegeera. But I'm also delighted to be part of this Ugandan organization that tries to bring people together and try to help educate, help people congregate and become a productive community, but also teach each other on how we can develop our communities here in the diaspora, but also back home. First and foremost, I am a commissioner, as you have rightly said, but I want to put a very simple disclaimer that I am not the official spokesperson of UNAA Electoral Commission. If there is such a person who should be officially speaking for the EC, I think the General Secretary of the EC will communicate that to you, or the chair of the Electoral Commission will communicate that to you, or even the vice chair of the EC. We do have a structure where we do have a leader, our chair, Florence Bazanye. We do have the vice chair, who is Mr. Chris Namakola, and the General Secretary. You all know Mr. Herbert Twase, who has been doing an incredible job as secretary for a couple of years now. So I think what you have laid, the picture you have painted to our community is about right. You also questioned where we get our mandate. Of course, the members of UNAA understand very well that UNAA has different structures. And we have different leadership. We have the BOT at the top. Then we do have the executive and the council. And then we do have the CRC and the Electoral Commission. So we are a subsection of the leadership within the UNAA structures. And we do manage the UNAA elections, both the council elections and the executive elections. So what happened in Cincinnati, as most of you already know, we did have an election for both the executive and the council. And the report you're talking about just came out a week ago. So I think that's where we are. We can talk about the report, the merits of the report. We can talk about other, first of all, I want to commend all the members on the Electoral Commission, the people that I have worked with over the last 2 years since I joined the commission. These are dedicated people. They are reputable people, and they love what they are doing. I think they did a meticulous job, especially in Cincinnati. This is the first general election that I've participated in. And one of my motivations to actually join the EC was because I felt dissatisfied in 2019 when we were in Chicago. So I was like, we need to fix this organization. And I think instead of sitting on the sidelines and criticize all the dysfunction, the seeming dysfunction, I think I need to get engaged with the organization, get involved, and try to see where I can contribute. Where can I contribute my leadership in this organization? So I joined the EC because I thought it was important for us to create trust, because the trust starts there. When the EC is doing an incredible job, everyone is going to be excited about the organization. Everyone is going to want to pay their membership, and everyone is going to join and be actively engaged. So that's why I joined the UNAA EC to try and fix some of the so I was my name was nominated, but when you get nominated, you have to be interviewed by the UNAA Council, which ultimately votes on you. If they think you are qualified, you go through. If they think you are not qualified, you do not go through. So we were actually nominated. Most of us, I think there's about 6 or 7 people who joined recently. And we went through the same process. You go to, you get vetted by the council. You get a lot of questions. That interview was intense. I remember it. But ultimately, I was able to convince the council at the time to trust me to go and try and fix what was seemingly not going right within the council. I mean within the EC, the Electoral Commission. Yeah. Yes.
Good evening, my viewers. Good morning, whenever you view this. I apologize. As you can see, earlier I was talking to the UNAA Electoral Commissioner, Henry Ssali. And when I was recording that interview from him, it looks like a mishap happened. And it turns out my own microphone, much as we could hear each other, my voice wasn't going into the recording. So as a result, I am going to try and paraphrase what we talked about, and then I'm going to edit out my parts where obviously you can't hear me, much as you could see that I was trying to say something. I was having a conversation with him, but the input from my microphone wasn't feeding into my system. So I apologize for that technical glitch. But essentially what I asked Mr. Ssali was to try and educate those who are viewing me and those who are viewing about what the process, so as he has seen it for the time he has been at the Electoral Commission, is like, particularly the recent report where, you know, I asked what is the report about? I thought there was an election and results announced to the convention, and so what was this report about? So he did actually do a good job of elaborating what the report about, the merits and the demerits of it. I also asked him about what those who feel aggrieved and have accused the Electoral Commission of lack of integrity, what he has to say, or what does he feel about those that are saying that. And he went ahead and explained about his views about how he sees things, and of course with a disclaimer, as it started at the beginning, that he is not, he does not speak on behalf of the EC, but he was here just representing himself, and that he actually voted. So the rest of it, you can tell. I don't think I need to repeat my questioning because you will tell from his answers what the questions were, pretty much. So once again, I apologize for the glitch.
For starters, there are a couple of events that happened in Chicago. Number one, in terms of who gets to vote, we know it's the people who live in North America, specifically citizens of the United States and Canada. You would think that even citizens of Mexico would be joining us, but because they're North America. But I don't think we have been able to see or identify people who live in Mexico who participate in these elections. But for me, what I didn't appreciate in 2019 was the fact that you cannot vote if you do not come with a driver's license, but you have a passport that actually indicates that you live in either America or the US. Yeah. So I thought I would have this discussion about why don't we allow passports? I mean, why don't we include a passport as one of the legitimate IDs? Because we do accept the driver's license, we do accept the residence cards, in the case of Canadians at least. But the passport wasn't allowed, and there were a couple of things that people wanted to evaluate in order to accept someone to be an eligible voter within the organization. So that's, for me, that was the motivation. Let me go in here and try to see how we can motivate more people to engage in this organization. Because if you send someone away who has been living in America for many years because they forgot their license or they forgot their resident ID, or their ID, resident ID is expired, but they still have a valid passport. For me, I thought that was a contentious issue that needed to be engaged with. Well, the report is, first of all, one of the mechanisms of accountability. Like I told you, the folks that I've worked with over the last 2 years, credible people, and we decided, as it is a norm for all organizations, to actually put a report in writing, knowing very well that the results are already out there, that there's a system within place where the executive is already working, the council is already working. But that's not enough, because it's really more for people who are inside to know that the organization is in operation. But the people outside of UNAA need to understand, how did the election go? Who won? How many people voted? Right? Those are the nitty-gritties that we indicate and explain within that report. And by the way, this is an audited report that was delivered by the company that we contracted to manage our electoral system. So we thought that it's important for people to see an audited report, read it themselves, because as you remember, when the results were announced, of course there were some contentions. Some people may not have appreciated how the results that were announced. So it was incumbent upon us to write a report and deliver it where it is supposed to be delivered, so that everyone can have access to it. I think the issue of accessibility to leadership documents is very important. And I think it creates more trust for the organization when we take the due diligence to do the proper reporting. So that's why we think that it is important for the Electoral Commission to report, as it is a norm for all organizations to make reports. Well, I think what I'm going to do is encourage everyone to read the report, because it's very well detailed. You can actually see vote by vote without necessarily seeing who voted for who, but you will see each and every individual who participated in that election. If you did vote, you will see that they are going to show you voted, and you're likely going to see that time you voted at. So you can actually remember yourself and be like, oh, okay, I actually voted that around that time. And you can actually gauge and see that, oh yeah, it took me about 2 minutes or 1 minute to complete my vote. So I think these are all important aspects of the report that people need to see and to read the report with an open mind to actually ensure that they understand it, but also that they engage with it themselves as opposed to hearing from other people what they're telling them. I think this is the essence of having a report because it comes to your face. You can read it on your mobile, you can read it on your computer, and as people who live in the diaspora, I think you can digest the information and interpret it by yourself without necessarily leaning on someone to explain each detail. In terms of conducting elections, we are independent to the extent that the UNAA constitutions or the UNAA Constitution gives us the mandate. So we do follow the UNAA Constitution, and that's the extent to which we are independent, right? So everything that we do is within the confines of the Constitution, right? Of course, there are some recommendations right now. When you read that report, you'll see that we had a few recommendations that we put forward that we think will help the organization even grow stronger. For example, even though we are independent, the registration that we use, all the voters, is really managed by a different organ of the organization. So they just offer us the membership, and then we try to ensure that we go through all the lists to ensure that there's on the members that are eligible to vote in this election.
All right, right there. I asked the commissioner about what does the EC do throughout the year, right? Because I wanted to, for us and the viewers to understand whether the EC just congregates maybe for a few days towards an election and do a few things and that's it, or is it an all year round process? So that's what I asked him about.
Actually, we do have sometimes, so towards elections, we have weekly meetings, sometimes two meetings a week. But before that, prior to the election period, we do have monthly, sometimes bi-monthly meetings where we meet to ensure that we put forth. So we go through all the recommendations that are within the confines of our mandate to try and refine all the suggestions that people should follow within an election. As you know, we do not have the power to change the constitution. So we use that constitution to make all the recommendations to the candidates, what they should follow within during the election, during and before the election. So because before the election, people need to understand, when do I register? How much money do I have to pay? So that money is decided upon by the Electoral Commission. We decide how much money commissioners are going, council members are going to pay to contest. We decide how much money the executive is going to pay in order to contest in that election. Though that's all within the confines of the mandate that is given to the EC by the UNAA Constitution. Those are all the things that we do. But these are not done in one day. These are conversations. We have contestations of ideas even within EC. The only difference is that we are very civil and we deliberate maturely on issues, even when we have contestations of ideas. Well, we do voter education, but you also have to remember that the website we use is managed by the by the organization, the executive. So much of our educational materials should essentially be on the website of the UNAA organization, right? We sometimes do not have control on what goes on the website, right? And that means sometimes even when we may want to do some sort of engagement with the community, because we do not have where we have a landing spot on the website, have to go through a lot of bureaucracies to get things lined up on that website, which means we have to do different kind of reaching out to the community. For example, coming to platforms like Tuchikube or other platforms within the United States and Canada to educate our voters. But you know, our community, our Ugandan communities tend to be more engaged within these conversations when there is an election. So that's when I hope that if there is a coming election in 2023, I hope that whoever is on the EC, they are going to use these platforms more to educate the communities so that people can be more engaged. For example, people can know when to renew your membership, because renewing your membership also determines when you're going to become a voter, if you're a voter or not. And if there are people who are finding trouble registering, they can tell us that I'm having these troubles registering. Can you please fix it? If we can fix those issues, they are seemingly minor issues, but they are very influential in how an election can go. So because I've had conversations that there was some sort of disenfranchisement of voters because some voters were not being registered in a timely manner. And I think that's where one of our recommendations to ensure that the EC registers has its own register for voters, a separate register from the general register. I don't know, that is something that the council has to deliberate on and decide on the way forward. But I think that that's a recommendation that the UNAA executive and the UNAA council needs to evaluate very closely. And I think this is why it is very important for members of the organization and other Ugandans to read this report, look at the recommendations, and see how they can engage each other to bring these recommendations to pass.
All right, right there. I did ask the commissioner directly about me as a newsman, always watching to see who is saying what. I asked him directly what I have had and seen at the say, which is that the EC on which he serves lacks integrity, and listen to his answer.
Well, first of all, I want to tell all the people who are watching us out there, whoever is watching us out there, I want you to know that the EC, as it stands today, has incredible, reputable folks who are dedicated to their work. I think we did a meticulous job in Cincinnati, and I'm not going to apologize for being meticulous. We did an incredible job. Some people made it, others did not. That's on the side of the executive as well as on the side of council. You take the opportunity, read the report, you will see who won the council and who won the executive. Why did people win the council? Why did people win the executive? I don't know. That's the duty of whoever competed. That's the duty of the citizens of this great organization to sit down and read the report and evaluate and look into the mirror and ask themselves if they did enough to beat their next opponent. Hey, listen, I just went through an election myself, board of directors for the university newspaper, the Varsity. That's University of Toronto. we do have a board of directors that that manages that organization, which was created in 1880. So it has been around 141 years, and the reason why it has been here that long is because they have a strong board of directors that oversees the operations of the organization. I came up number 5, but the person who was number 1 beat me by 52 votes. I was number 5. Yeah, I was number 5, but the person who was number 1 beat me by 52 votes, right? So that should tell you that these things happen. Losing is not fatal, right? I have to think of ways that that person who beat me did better than I, right? And then figure out how to get on the board next time, right? But I think I appreciate first and foremost all the people who put their names forward to compete. I think it's a good way to compete. I mean, competing is very good, but also I want to encourage anyone who does not make it the first time to sit back and evaluate their own practices on how they engage with the populations, right? Why, for example, did they make it? Why did their members make it on council but did not make it on the executive, right? What can we do? What does, instead of scapegoating the EC, I think they need to evaluate their own methods of campaigning and engaging with the membership. And I think we may be frustrated with how things are going right now, but we are not going to feel happier by not fixing them, by waiting for other people to fix them on our behalf. I think it's important for us to get engaged. The reason why I'm engaged in this process is because I used to be a fierce critic of how things are being done. Yeah, yes, I was, because I was like, yo, I need to fix this thing, because I think I have the ability to fix it. So the problem is not the EC right now, in my opinion, because unless something happened behind my back, but as far as I'm concerned, and I attended every single meeting of the EC from the inception of the discussions on how we can do better, what are some of the policies we need to tweak around to ensure that we offer a free and fair election. I think each and every person who has been attending those meetings, and I've been one of the biggest challengers or critical of some certain things that were being done. Like if you attended Cincinnati and you saw how the process transpired, you will agree with me that we did an incredible job given the pandemic, right? Like you cannot dismiss what we did, and you cannot scapegoat us or scapegoat the commission for your shortcomings. And I don't want to pinpoint anyone. I think it's tough to, yeah. I think we need to discuss the process and look at the process critically and like, listen, I'm here to engage with anyone who has questions. If someone has questions and they feel like, you know what, this guy, if you feel like I've given an insufficient answer on any of the questions, I'm happy to engage with you either privately or publicly. But I think we're only going to get better if we can allow to talk to each other in a civil way, at least. I think that's very important for us. That's the only way we are going to change who we are, both in the diaspora, but also back home. Listen, I'm the lead of the African Alumni Association at the University of Toronto, and I engage with so many different people. I can tell you one thing, that one of the most successful diaspora African communities the Ethiopian community. They are very successful. The Nigerian communities are very successful. The Rwandese communities are very successful. The Somali communities are very successful. But you know why they are? That it's not because they are perfect. They have challenges themselves. It's because they sit down and challenge each other and create organizations that speak for them on a country level. So they have powerful organizations. Today we have, I think we have 2 ministers who are Somalis, not ministers, but 2 federal MPs who are Somalis. We also have Somali MPPs. So when I say federal MPs, I mean people who are in Ottawa or the equivalent of Washington, DC. And when I say MPP in terms of Ontario, I mean state level. So we need to ask ourselves, how do the Somalis make it in state legislature or federal legislature, and Ugandans are not there, right? Because you're concentrating on fighting each other instead of building up each other. And I think that is a challenge we need to overcome ourselves. I think there's an opportunity for UNAA to create a great voice. Of course, there's a lot of there are so many things that UNAA needs to work upon. For example, we need to get an office, a permanent office. But that is we can't get that when we are fighting who is going to lead us. I think we need to work towards ensuring that whichever leadership we have chosen, we try to support it in a way that can help them. We need to push them to do better, to be better for the community, for the Ugandan community. I think that's very important. Until we create a voice that can speak for all Ugandans, until we stop infusing Ugandan politics into the organization, we are going to continue having these petty fights, and we won't create something tangible that helps Ugandans in North America. We are going to continue having GoFundMe pages for people who have lost loved ones, because an organization like UNAA has no capacity to help them get affordable insurance rates.
And I went on to thank the commissioner for his service and his fellow commissioners and everybody on that EC for their service. And I actually mentioned, because through conversations with him while in Ohio, I learned that he had to take several COVID tests in order to be able to get into the US here. When he's in Canada, he had to travel to Cincinnati, Ohio. The border is closed. All kinds of hoops that one had to go through, including giving a good reason why he had to cross the border, things like that. So I, that's what I was talking about there, and he went on to answer.
I want to send my invoice to whoever I have to send it to. You let me know who I should send my invoice to, so that they can compensate me for that. Truth of the matter is that teliwe inakubera ina potential nene nnyo inawe ina okubeera wetanaba kutuuka naye tegenda kutuukawo nga tuli mu kulwanagana oba tuli mu creating organizations impya olwakubanga tuli upset with how things are going in the old one. Tetwagala gifixinga. There are so many organizations that have cropped up but haven't created impact in any way. I think all personal organizations is creating an impact. Abantu aba creating an impact. Twegatte wamu to creating something for this old organization that has a voice, right? Tetugenda kusobola kukikinga politics wa Uganda mu UNAA kujja kunga twegasse mu UNAA tujitereza kumanya nti egenda kukolera abantu bali mu North America. If we must influence politics back home, so to influencing the politics wa one. Bwebanda tandika tuwuliriza mu DC oba mu Ottawa, then we can start writing letters ne tubagamba mumanya abe Ottawa, mumanya abe DC, Uganda bakoze bwekiti mugenda kukolawo ki. influence. We need that influence. We cannot get that influence when we are still in fighting.
Okay. Next, I asked the commissioner about what those who felt aggrieved or continue to feel aggrieved can do. What did the process allow them to do? And that's how he answered it.
Like I told you, we work under structures, right? UNAA has a structure. So if someone feels like they were disenfranchised or the process wasn't fair, they have to write a letter to the BOT, and it's the responsibility of the BOT to respond to any member who feels like they were not taken seriously, or they were disenfranchised, or they felt cheated, or whatever words they want to use. I think it's the BOT's responsibility to respond to them in whichever way they have to respond. But I think silence is not going to help us as an organization. If there's any member who feels that things did not go as they should have gone, at this moment, the EC does not have any mandate. We are not in an election period anymore, so our mandates have been pretty much they are on a yeah gwapegwa awedde kakati abalina abagala okuwaba bagende bagambe BOT ekoleki erina otusamoninga ne tugamba mwebe aba EC mwakoze ABCD ensonga ngeno tugenda gitunulamu tulabe oba waliwo kye tuyinza okukola next. On the other hand, if they feel like the BOT is not responding, or because the EC has no powers right now, we produced, we offered the report, and that's I think that's the end of our mandate for now, until the next election cycle. If someone still feels like, you know what, my issues are not being addressed, we are in America, we are in Canada, right? We have courts that work. We have a legal system that works. Right? And I don't want to encourage people to go to court, but if they feel like that's the only avenue they have to take, they should do whatever, so long as it's fair, both to themselves and to the community and the organization. I just want every single person who offered themselves in an election to know that they are credible people and they are excellent, and Ugandans in the diaspora are happy to have them. They are excited to have such a group of people that put themselves forward. I think about Look at these guys. Look at Impima. Look at Albert Makasala. These are all amazing guys. We would love them to lead us in one way or another, right? And I think we were lucky to have all the candidates that contested in this election. Yeah. Right. Thank you so much for inviting me. I think it's always a pleasure to engage with the community in one way or another. I'm glad that you actually invited me to say something. Again, I want to let everyone know that I'm not speaking for the Electoral Commission. I'm speaking on behalf of myself as a member of a paying member of the organization, but also as a member who participated in the processes of the Electoral Commission as a commissioner. I'm not speaking on behalf of the commission. Neyogereranga nze omuntu, in fact nange nalonda ate era nina candidates abanga abatayitamu abatakola abatafuna kye nali njagala bafune, kitegeera naye ng'omuntu kati nga nze kitegeera, so sogerera commission neyogereranga nze. Yeah.
Well, great conversation that we had, and it's unfortunate that I lost an audio feed, but so I thank Henry again for taking the time to come up, and maybe I'll have him back again to. But though, somewhere also in my remarks, I did state that it is important for those on the opposing sides to know, both sides, that they are free to come here and also air their views about the report as it came out. I did not, I wanted to make sure that I'm fair and balanced, that I put that into the record, that this platform, if anybody else feels like, you know what, I also have something to say about what he said, please let me know, and we'll have you onto the show. Have a great weekend and a great week ahead. Thanks again. Cheers.
Neyazanye so neyazeke.